This humble fruit, a gift from the earth, holds secrets many never uncover. We reach for it, yes, but do we truly see? To miss its deepest lessons is to starve the soul in subtle ways. Stay with me, child, for the wisdom at the journey's end. It may just change how you receive all of life's bounty. Forced bloom. There is a quiet dignity in the ripening, a slow unfurling of purpose that we, in our modern haste, often seek to command. We prod and poke, searching for that yielding softness, impatient for the treasure within. But to force a thing before its season, that is a peculiar kind of violence, isn't it? It is like demanding a poem from a heart not yet ready to sing, or expecting a child to carry the burdens of an elder. The avocado, much like the human spirit, has its own internal clock, its own sacred rhythm. When we try to rush this process, placing it in a paper bag with an apple perhaps, or setting it in a sliver of sunlight hoping to accelerate what nature has ordained, we may achieve a superficial softness. But what of the soul of the fruit? What of the nuanced flavors, the creamy texture that only time and patient waiting can bestow? We might find that in our hurry, we have bruised its potential, created a semblance of readiness that lacks the true depth of its being. This impatience, this desire to bend the world to our hurried will, it steals more than just the perfect taste of a fruit. It robs us of the lesson of surrender, of trusting the unfolding. The consequences, you see, are not always writ large in fire and brimstone. Sometimes the most profound losses are silent, the death of true flavor, the stillbirth of potential. It is a kind of spiritual famine when we cannot abide the natural unfolding, when we believe our small interventions are superior to the grand, slow dance of creation. Consider the life that yearns to express itself fully. If you try to pry open a rosebud before its time, you will not find the beauty you seek. You will find only a mangled promise, a green bitterness. The fruit, too, whispers this truth. It asks for our patience, our respect for its journey. And when we deny it this, when we impose our hurried agenda, we are, in a small yet significant way, denying a piece of life itself its rightful expression. This is a mistake that echoes far beyond the kitchen counter. It speaks to how we approach our own growth, our relationships, our dreams. Do we allow them the space and time to ripen naturally, or do we, in our anxiety, attempt to force a bloom that can only be pale and unsatisfying? The true feast is not just in the eating, but in the honoring of the journey from seed to glorious ripeness. To miss this is to partake in a hollow victory, a taste that lingers with the faint, sad flavor of what might have been, had we only learned to wait with grace. And this, my dear, is a lesson few will pause to teach you in a world that worships speed over substance. The quiet sorrow of an unfulfilled promise, a potential stifled by haste, that is a kind of fatality to the spirit of the thing and to our own capacity for patient appreciation. It is a subtle betrayal of the gift offered, a refusal to listen to the silent wisdom embedded in the very fabric of existence. Forgotten roots. We cradle the avocado in our palm, admiring its smooth, dark skin, anticipating the richness within. But how often do we pause to consider the journey it has undertaken to reach our hands? From what sun-drenched grove did it spring? What hands, weathered by labor and love, tended the tree, nurtured the blossom, and carefully plucked this offering from its branch? To partake of any gift from the earth without a thought for its origins, without a sense of connection to the soil and the toil that brought it forth, is to eat with a veiled heart. It is a form of spiritual amnesia, this severing of the present moment from the long, intricate chain of being that led to its creation. This isn't merely about agricultural awareness. It is about recognizing our place in the vast, interconnected web of life. When we forget the roots, we risk a peculiar kind of arrogance, a belief that these blessings simply appear, conjured by our desires alone. The truth, of course, is far more profound and humbling. Each fruit carries within it the story of the sun, the rain, the earth, and human effort. To ignore this narrative is to diminish the sanctity of the gift. It is like listening to a glorious piece of music without ever acknowledging the composer or the musicians who breathe life into the notes. The melody might still be beautiful, but its depth, its resonance, its human story remains unheard, unappreciated. This oversight, this casual acceptance without acknowledgement, can lead to a kind of desensitization. We become consumers rather than communicants. The food nourishes our bodies, yes, but does it nourish our souls if we have not first nourished our sense of gratitude and connection? The fatal aspect here is not a physical ailment, but a withering of the spirit and impoverishment of our capacity for awe and thankfulness. It's a slow erosion of reverence, of forgetting that we are part of something much larger than our individual appetites. When we honor the source, when we take a moment to imagine the journey, the fruit itself tastes different. It becomes imbued with a deeper significance. It is no longer just an ingredient, it is a communion. And this, precious one, is a secret rarely spoken of in the bustling marketplaces or the brightly lit aisles of our grocery stores. We are taught prices and recipes, but seldom are we guided to consider the soul of our sustenance, to overlook the hands that tilled, the sun that warmed, the rain that quenched, is to walk through a garden of wonders with eyes wide shut, missing the very essence of its magic. It is a disconnection that ultimately leaves us emptier, for true nourishment comes not just from what we ingest, but from what we understand and revere. The earth remembers, even if we do not, and its silent reproach is a life less richly lived. Heedless hand. There is an art to approaching the avocado, a dance between firmness and gentleness, much like navigating delicate truths in human relationships. The knife, a simple tool, becomes in our hand an instrument of creation, or if wielded carelessly, of unintended harm. How many of us, in our eagerness to reach the verdant treasure, have treated this act with less respect than it deserves? A reckless slice, a forceful twist, and suddenly the blade has slipped, finding not the yielding flesh of the fruit but our own. This is more than a clumsy accident. It is a potent metaphor for how we often handle precious things with a lack of mindfulness, a dangerous precipitation. The injury, though perhaps small, is a stark reminder that power, even the small power of a kitchen knife, demands responsibility and presence. To approach the avocado with a heedless hand is to invite a wound, not just to the body but to the moment itself. It speaks of a mind elsewhere, a spirit not fully engaged in the task at hand. And this lack of presence, this careless momentum, can have consequences far more lasting than a nicked finger. Think of the words spoken in haste, the judgments made without full understanding, the opportunities for connection missed because our attention was fractured. These are the deeper wounds, the fatal flaws in our engagement with life that a simple slip of the knife can so painfully illuminate. The avocado asks for our focused attention, a mindful negotiation with its form. It teaches us to feel for the pit, to guide the blade with intention, to respect its internal structure. When we fail to do this, when we rush or apply brute force, we are not only risking physical harm, but also demonstrating a disregard for the integrity of the object before us. It is a small act, yes, cutting an avocado, but it is in these small acts that our larger patterns of behavior are often revealed. Are we present? Are we respectful? Are we aware of the potential for both creation and destruction that lies within our grasp? The world seldom whispers these questions so directly. It often takes a sharp sting, a sudden pain, to call us back to the immediacy of the now, to the importance of mindful action. This mistake, then, is not merely about poor knife skills. It is about a deeper carelessness, a failure to bring our whole selves to the experience, however mundane it may seem. And the cost of such heedlessness, repeated over time, is a life lived superficially, punctuated by unnecessary injuries to ourselves, to others, to the delicate fabric of our shared existence. The avocado, in its silent way, offers us a chance to practice this vital attentiveness, a lesson in handling life's gifts with the care and respect they and we deserve. Hidden worth. Once the rich, green flesh has been scooped away, what remains? For many, it is simply the tough skin and the substantial, smooth pit, remnants to be discarded, destined for the refuse bin without a second thought. And here lies a profound misunderstanding. a blindness to the cyclical nature of life and the inherent value in what we too often deem as waste. To cast aside the pit and skin without considering their potential is to participate in a culture of disposability that extends far beyond our kitchens. It is to say that once the obvious, immediate offering has been consumed, the rest is without merit. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom, rarely creates without purpose, without a thread of continuity. That humble pit, so often dismissed, holds within it the blueprint for another tree, another generation of fruit, another cycle of nourishment. It is a vessel of astonishing potential, a promise of future abundance. To throw it away unthinkingly is to discard a miracle, to sever a connection to the ongoing story of growth and renewal. And the skin, too, possesses qualities we overlook in our haste. Some traditions have found uses for it, in dyes or compost, recognizing that every part of nature's bounty has its place, its contribution to the whole. This failure to see hidden worth, to explore the possibilities beyond the immediately apparent, is a kind of spiritual poverty. It is a fatal flaw in our perception, limiting our ability to engage creatively and resourcefully with the world around us. We live in a society that often champions the finished product, the quick reward, and teaches us to undervalue the process, the remnants, the seeds of future potential. This is not just about avocados, of course. It is about how we see people who may seem less useful, ideas that are not yet fully formed, experiences that appear to be failures. Do we discard them, or do we look deeper, searching for the hidden worth, the lesson, the seed of something new? The avocado pit, sitting heavy in the palm, is a potent teacher. It challenges us to expand our vision, to cultivate a mindset of reverence for the entirety of creation, not just its most easily consumable parts. The wisdom here is that nothing is truly waste if we have the eyes to see and the heart to understand its place in the grand design. To neglect this is to live in a world of perceived scarcity, constantly seeking the new while trampling underfoot the very seeds of regeneration. It is a profound disservice to the generosity of the earth and to our own capacity for wonder and ingenuity. The simple act of considering the destiny of the pit can open a door to a more mindful, more sustainable, and ultimately more enriching way of being. Joy shared, the creamy, rich flesh of the avocado, once revealed, is a delight, a testament to nature's artistry. And often, our first instinct is to savor it alone, to indulge in its goodness in a quiet, personal moment. There is a place for solitary pleasure, for the quiet communion with a gift received. But to only experience such bounty in isolation, to never feel the expansive joy that comes from sharing, is to miss a crucial dimension of its blessing. Food, at its heart, is a connector. It is a language of care, of community, of celebration. When we partake of something as wondrous as a perfectly ripe avocado and do not even consider offering a portion to another or preparing it as part of a meal to be enjoyed with loved ones, we confine its magic. The joy then becomes a smaller thing, contained within the self rather than magnified through connection. This isn't about obligation, but about the spontaneous wellspring of generosity that true appreciation can inspire. The fatal mistake here is a subtle closing of the heart, a missed opportunity for the spirit to expand. It is the quiet tragedy of a pleasure unmultiplied, a gift whose radiance is dimmed by its confinement. Think of the warmth that spreads when a simple offering is made, a slice of fruit, a shared story, a moment of presence. This warmth nourishes something deeper than the body. It feeds the soul's yearning for belonging, for communion. When we eat mindlessly, even if the food is exquisite, we are merely fueling the machine. But when we eat with awareness, with gratitude, and with a spirit of sharing, the act becomes a sacrament. The avocado, in its generous offering, invites us to this larger table. It whispers of abundance, an abundance that grows not by hoarding, but by giving. The richest flavors are often those savored in good company, where laughter and conversation become the finest seasonings. To neglect this dimension of eating, to consistently turn inward with nature's gifts, is to risk a kind of spiritual isolation, a slow starvation of the communal self. No one may explicitly tell you that the true sweetness of a fruit is amplified when its joy is passed from one hand to another, from one heart to another. But life itself teaches this lesson in the quiet satisfaction that blooms when we transform a simple ingredient into an act of love, however small. The blessing is not just in receiving the avocado, but in becoming a conduit for its goodness, allowing its richness to flow through us and out into the world, connecting us in a tapestry of shared delight. To miss this is to taste the fruit, perhaps, but to never truly savor its deepest, most resonant song. Unique heart. We approach each avocado with an expectation, often an unconscious one, shaped by past experiences. We anticipate a certain texture, a particular hue of green, a predictable yield. And when a fruit deviates from this internal blueprint, perhaps it is stringier than we'd like, or it ripens unevenly, or its pit is unexpectedly large, leaving less of the coveted flesh. A flicker of disappointment can arise. This subtle insistence on uniformity, this resistance to the inherent variability of nature, is a mistake that can curdle even the sweetest of life's offerings. It is to forget that each creation, like each human soul, is unique, bearing its own individual story, its own particular expression of being. To expect every avocado to be a perfect replica of some idealized form is to set ourselves up for perpetual dissatisfaction. It is to impose our rigid desires upon the wild, beautiful diversity of life. The fatal flaw here is not in the fruit's deviation, but in our inability to embrace it, to find the beauty and value in its specific, unrepeatable reality. This lesson extends far beyond the realm of produce. It touches how we view ourselves, our loved ones, the unfolding of our days. Do we rail against the imperfections, the unexpected turns, the ways in which reality fails to conform to our meticulously crafted expectations? Or do we cultivate a spirit of acceptance and appreciation for the character and nuance that difference brings? Each avocado, with its own unique heart, its own particular ratio of pit to flesh, its own subtle variations in flavor and texture, is a teacher of this profound acceptance. It reminds us that nature does not deal in perfect copies, but in an endless stream of originals. Some may be conventionally better by our narrow standards, but all are part of the magnificent imperfect tapestry. To reject a fruit because it is not perfect is to reject a piece of life itself. It is to close ourselves off from the lessons that can be found in imperfection, in the surprising, in the thing that challenges our preconceived notions. The world does not owe us conformity. It offers us instead a vibrant, ever-changing dance of individuality. And our task, if we are to live fully and joyfully, is to learn the steps of this dance, to meet each moment, each person, each avocado with an open heart, ready to appreciate it for what it is, not for what we wished it to be. This, perhaps, is one of the deepest secrets that the humble fruit can share, the profound peace that comes from embracing the unique heart of all things, including our own. This acceptance is not a passive resignation, but an active, loving engagement with the beautiful, messy, unpredictable truth of existence. Life, much like this verdant fruit, offers itself to us in layers of meaning, inviting us to look beyond the surface, to engage with patience, respect, and an open heart. The greatest nourishment often comes not just from what we consume, but from what we understand, what we honor. May you always seek the deeper wisdom in the simple gifts, for it is there that the truest sustenance for the soul resides, nourishing you in ways you are only just beginning to comprehend.